Hence, Honorable Niehaus, followed by Honorable Harting.
Thank you, Chair. Let me first of all thank Mr. Ndlovu for the expansive presentation that he has given us. I think with regards to the issue of the NCACC, while we appreciate that the NCACC has now been constituted, and I also appreciate what General Holomisa has shared with us in terms of them prioritizing the applications in front of them, we as a committee must register formally our dissatisfaction with the long delay that there was. Chairperson, I believe that we need to act in terms of making sure that accountability is there. Money has been lost, reputation has been lost because of this inordinate delay. We need to get a better explanation why it has happened. And I'm glad that we now have a commitment that these issues will be addressed in the future in a better way, but there must be accountability for those who fail to act in time expeditiously on this matter, because the losses that we have suffered may not be possible for us to recuperate. That's the first issue, Chair. Secondly, Chair, we are faced with a situation where the South African National Defence Force has serious budgetary constraints. And evidently, this impacts on our armaments industry. I think we need to register as a committee our serious concern about how that impacts on our own capability to have the South African National Defence Force being able to defend the national sovereignty of our nation. When I hear Mr. Ndlovu speaking, it is very disconcerting to understand that the bulk of that which is manufactured by the armaments industry in South Africa is currently being exported. That in itself is a defense and security risk that we are faced with. I sincerely hope that what General Holomisa has shared with us in the past about a possible increase in the budget of the SANDF to about 1.25% of gross domestic product will take place. And that over a period of time, we will be able to return to a situation where 90% of what is manufactured by our manufacturing industry will be sold to the South African National Defence Force. Otherwise, we continue to expose ourselves. Chair, I've also looked at the list of countries that has been mentioned by Mr. Ndlovu, where exports go. And I see amongst those countries, the United States of America and also Western European nations. Understandably so, Chair, but at the same time, I would like to get clarity, although the name of apartheid Israel does not appear on that list, and I'm glad that it's not there. What provisions are being put in place to make sure that none of the armaments that are sold to these other countries, some of them, and very particularly the United States of America, being close allies of apartheid Israel, what provisions are there that will ensure that none of the armaments that we produce eventually find its way through to apartheid Israel? That will be utterly unacceptable. And I conclude, Chair, by recommending Mr. Ndlovu also for stating that the manufacturing industry is not only with the SANDF as the prime client, but that there are other very important clients. And we saw when we visited the African Aerospace exhibition at Waterkloof, the products that have been produced by our armaments industry also for the South African Police Service, notably an adaptation of an armed vehicle and troop carrier for the eThekwini Metro Police. And these are the kind of extensions and support that I would like to see being expanded on, because that will also assist us in order to sell a larger part of what is manufactured by the armaments industry in South Africa locally in South Africa. Thank you, Chair.
I really want to thank Mr. Mashaba for the very detailed presentation that he had given us. I've got 3 questions. The first one relates to Act 15 of 1998, which also covers issues around foreign military assistance and also the Prohibition of Mercenaries Associations Assistance Act. Chair, I want to know whether this, in terms of the work that the committee is doing, only manages issues around weapons and hardware, or does it also deal with human beings, with citizens of South Africa getting involved in armed conflicts in areas that would be unacceptable? And this, again, as I've referred before, to the issue of apartheid Israel, relate to South African citizens who illegally joined the Israeli Defense Force and then get involved there. Does the committee deal with these issues? Then secondly, Chair, I would like to understand exactly how the committee deals with the regulatory category C, which was on slide 28, about the using of enabling equipment that can actually help to activate very lethal weapons. A while ago, there's been a very disturbing report that there were South African manufactured drones used in the DRC, in the war conflict environment of the DRC, where South African troops are deployed as part of the UN peacekeeping mission, but that those drones were deployed with testing purposes to see how effective they are, and that they were not meeting the various regulations that there are with regards to the usage of such drones. What I'm really saying is it would be unacceptable for a private sector company manufacturing an armed or unarmed drone, but unmanned drone, and use it in that environment for testing purposes, and whether the committee deals with those particular issues. Then lastly, Chair, I think overall we must express our appreciation to the committee for the work that it does. This is extremely important work because it prevents our country from getting involved in areas of armed conflict and international conflict that can compromise us. They certainly deal with very important issues of national security. And I think we must appreciate that this committee's work is essential for South Africa to be able to continue to be one of those countries that pursue a human rights agenda and doesn't allow itself to get embroiled in conflicts that are very unacceptable in terms of our own human rights commitments. I would like to ask Mr. Mashala to give us perhaps a little bit more detail about how they apply those human rights provisions which South Africa ascribed to in terms of the impact that it has on the decisions to approve exports of weapons and also the sale on of weapons to other countries or not, and to what extent those human rights conditions impact on the final decisions that they take. Thank you, Chair. very quick. I will provide the information that I have regarding the unapproved use of drones in the DRC to Mr. Mashaba. That will be done soon. But my question was not fully answered, and I do think it needs to be clarified. I was asking a specific question about the issue of demonstration and experimental use of equipment, including unmanned drones in war zones. Will the committee approve the use of unmanned drones and other equipment for demonstration and experimental purposes when those products are not yet fully developed? Therefore, the consequences of how they get deployed and what their impact will be is not clear in war zones, and will that be considered to be an ethical thing to do? Thank you, Chair.
Proposer and seconder, subject to any changes in this report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Niehaus.
Thank you, Chair. With regards to point 4, in terms of the response of the committee to this deployment, where it says the committee noted that the deployment in support of SAPS may detract from other priority deployment areas, specifically the SANDF deployment on South African borders. We did say that, but we also said something more. And I think it is important that it should be reflected. We said that the financial implications of these deployments detract from the SANDF's ability to deal with the equipment and also handling of its employees in terms of employment in a way that addresses the needs of the SANDF. So we need to find the right wording, but it must say that it detracts from the capacity of the SANDF to address the critical issues with regards to its own rejuvenation and the future kind of South African Defence Force that we should have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Can we then have a mover for the adoption of the report with those comments?
I move, Chair. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand, but I move. I see the my concern is captured there, and I'm happy with the way it's been